Hey, what's up guys, you good Chipsy, and today we are back with a draft analysis for another Wi-Fi league that I've just joined recently. Last Wi-Fi league I did was a Little Cup League, and this league I'm going to be joining now is called the BBL, and it is the Banlist Battlers League. So this is a league run by AA Ron, 2420. I believe he is the one who runs it. It could also be run by a few more guys, but I know he approached me for this league, so I know he's one of the guys who runs it anyway. And yeah, the kind of interesting sort of niche of this league is that it allows a bunch of Ubers, a bunch of mons which are literally usually banned from a lot of leagues. So this is going to be a bit of a contrast to the Little Cup Wi-Fi league you guys saw on my channel recently. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this season. I think it's going to be really fun to mix it up, mix the format up a bit, allow some really powerful broken mons, and yeah, and just have some fun on Wi-Fi, because it's been a while. You know, it's been a while since I uploaded any Wi-Fi content. It is always a nice change from the usual showdown leagues that I usually play in. So definitely looking forward to bringing you guys this one. Before we jump into it, most really broken mons, stuff like Primal Groundon, Primal Kyogre, even like regular Kyogre, they weren't allowed. They were banned because it's just they're not even in question. Those mons are just too good for the format. But that being said, a lot of really cool mons were allowed. The highest price mons were stuff like Mewtwo. Mewtwo was 24 points. It is a points based league as well, so we had Mewtwo for 24 points. Stuff like Zygarde Complete was also 24 points. I don't think that mon actually got drafted though, which is pretty crazy. No, it didn't get drafted. But we have like stuff like Marsh Shadow, Mega Lucario, and one choice of the Arceus forms. But stuff like Arceus Fairy, Arceus Water were all were banned. Those mons are just a bit too good. Arceus Steel as well. Those Arceus forms are just a bit too versatile, too good for the format. But there were a lot of Arceus forms allowed, and the way it worked is one person picked an Arceus form. So after that, there could be no other Arceus forms drafted. So it was essentially one Arceus type allowed. But like I said, there was a ton of cool mons available and lots of really interesting options. We were kind of restricted to picking certain tiers of Ubers. So if you picked a 24-point Uber, like the highest tier of Uber, you couldn't get any more. You could only pick from 18 and below. If you picked like a 23 or 22-point Uber, you could get another 18 or a 19-point Uber, stuff like that. So we had restrictions in place to prevent teams from getting too overpowered. But yeah, I think I've assembled a team that can really support the Ubers that I have drafted, and some Ubers that I'm just really excited to use in general. So we're going to kick it off with our number 1 pick. I forget my placement in the draft. I think it was number 6 in the draft, so not amazing, but not awful either. Like definitely in the upper echelon of picks. In the upper half, I think it was like a 12 or a 16-man draft. So yeah, definitely in a pretty good spot. And the first one we picked for our BBL season is going to be Magina. And before I jump into like my discussion about Magina, I want to just also quickly thank AA Ron for organizing all my graphics. And I've been very busy the past few days, and he was able to prepare all my slides for this video. So shout out to him for that. I do really appreciate it. And shout outs to Ultra Player as well for helping me out with the graphics. And these graphics do look really clean, I can't lie. So here we are with our pick 1 Magina. This is actually going to be a bit of an upgrade from the Magina I have in ITL, because this Magina can use Z moves, and this is one of my Z move uses that I chose for the team. I really want to use Z Magina, especially on Wi-Fi. I think I'm already loving it in ITL. It's one of those mons that I think anyone can use and have a lot of success with, but I'm really enjoying experimenting with spreads and bringing different kind of variants. It's a mon that can function in a lot of different ways. It doesn't always have to be an offensive sweeper. It can be a defensive win condition. It can be a pivot. It can be a disruptor. It has a ton of options, and steals are something I honestly think like top tier steals are the best mons in the format. I think you can make the argument for Celesteela being the best mon in leagues that don't allow Magina. And Magina is obviously the best mon in leagues that do. Like in ITL, there's no question Magina is the best mon available, even without Z moves. And it's going to be really fun to use. For those of you guys who may not be too aware of Ubers, maybe you haven't played much Ubers over the past couple of gens, but in Gen 7, Magina is a real staple in Ubers. It's a real powerhouse, being able to check a lot of nasty threats like Xerneas. It can stop mons like Xerneas in their tracks with Heart Swap. It can its defensive typing is just amazing for the tier in general, and it has a lot of really nice options up its sleeve with stuff like Heal Bell, Pain Split, and the Heart Swap, which give it a real kind of niche in the Ubers tier. And yeah, it's obviously a mon that can win in a lot of games if it's positioned correctly. If its teammates can support it, then Magina can really shine in a lot of games. And having Z means I don't have to rely on inaccurate moves like Focus Blast. It obviously also powers up Magina to ridiculous levels. So really pumped to be using Mage, and Z Mage at that, with my first pick. And the next mon I grabbed, which is a mon that is usually a Z move user. But in this situation, I wasn't able to make Mage as well as a high tier mon, my Z move user. So, but that really doesn't matter, because the next one I grabbed is Lando T. And Lando T, even without Z, the way I use Lando T, honestly, like oftentimes it doesn't even need to be Z to be effective. Z is obviously a nice bonus for it to have. It brings a lot more prep for the opponent when building versus my team. But Lando without Z is still certainly a big threat. It's a defensive powerhouse, and offensively it's just incredibly viable even without Z. I think I used like Soft Sound in my most recent DPL game versus Excellent Name, and it was just like, it's just disgusting how strong this thing is. And it's a mon that I'm very comfortable with using. It's up there with Selly as my favorite mon in the format. So yeah, really pumped to have Lando. It gives me a solid, like a disgusting pairing with Mage actually. Like Lando Mage is a staple core on OU. It's like the core on bulky offense and like offensive teams, just complementing each other very nicely. Magina obviously being weak to the ground type moves, Lando covering that, Magina covering ice moves for Lando. So yeah, but they come together to form a really nice core, really nice Volt Turn core as well, which is going to be useful for the rest of my team. But those were the first two mons that I picked, and at this stage we had 120 points, so I was keeping my points in mind. But the next one we grabbed is Ho-Oh, and this is the second Uber I picked. And this thing was like, Ho-Oh in my opinion is an incredibly good mon, and Ho-Oh was only 22 points when stuff like Groudon was 23, Rayquaza was 23. Ho-Oh in my opinion is better than stuff like Zygarde Complete. I think Zygarde Complete's obviously like a ridiculous mon, but Ho-Oh, man, Ho-Oh is fucking mental. I don't know how many of you guys have played Ubers, but Ho-Oh is a staple throughout the generations in Ubers. It is absurdly bulky, 154 SPDF with 130 attack, very respectable speed, and like 90 or 91, 95 or something like that speed. Respectable defenses, and like base 106 HP I believe, with 110 special attack. So it has a regenerator. So it's one of those mons that it can function, I think, in the draft format even better than it can in regular standard Ubers play. And it's a mon that I'm really looking forward to building around when it comes to these league battles. I think it also helps my team as well, because Magina obviously doesn't like fire attacks. Ho-Oh can tank those with ease, as well as ground type attacks, switch in on them, get regenerator if it has to take rocks damage. Lando's also a really nice defogger for Ho-Oh as well. So yeah, this is a squad that I think is already coming together pretty nicely, and yeah, Ho-Oh is definitely a mon that I'm pumped to use. So the next one I grabbed was Ferrothorn. Ferro in Ubers, Ferro in like regular draft format is a lot of fun. Well, it's not a lot of fun to prep against. It's actually a mon that I've never used in a proper league, but I love Ferro. Like I love using it in standard, and it offers the team dual hazards, leech. It offers my team a very valuable water immunity, water resist, which currently I'm a little bit weak to with Lando and Ho-Oh. It also synergizes amazingly with Ho-Oh being able to resist electric, rock, and water. So those two form an incredibly good pairing. Ho-Oh, actually, they cover each other's pairings literally perfectly. Ho-Oh covering fighting and fire for Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn covering electric, rock, and water for Ho-Oh, as well as obviously giving my team hazards to take the pressure off Lando, to not be the only rock setter. It's also a mon that can check a lot of the Ubers that were drafted. A lot of them will have to now carry fire coverage to have a hope of breaking past Ferro, and the rest of my team can definitely capitalize on that. So the next mon I wanted to get to pair with my Ferrothorn, with the rest of my picks was Weavile. Weavile hits a really nice speed tier, especially in Ubers. A lot of the Ubers that we do allow aren't that fast. Obviously stuff like Mewtwo, Marshadow are kind of the top speed tiers. But Weavile in any league is a menace to a lot of teams. Like I honestly hate prepping for Weavile when I'm playing it. It's one of those mons. Weavile and Thundy Eye are two mons that I really dislike prepping against because they're nasty. Like so many teams have a inherent weakness to Weavile. Dark Ice, that combo of stab is nasty, and being able to trap with Weavile, as well as having that clutch Ice Shard priority in a tier filled with like powerful dragons and Ubers is going to be very important. It also gives me a dark type. I was contemplating T-Tar, but the speed that Weavile provides is something that honestly T-Tar just can't fill. And I've already got T-Tar in Best Never Rest, and I've got Megatar in ITL. So I wanted to mix it up, use Weavile, a mon that I haven't used since in a draft league, I think since like MPL or something like that. So pumped to use Weavile again. It's a mon that I'm very comfortable with using, and it should be a really nice addition to the squad. I think the team really appreciates that speed tier and that really nice priority as well. So the next one I grabbed was Latias. Latias gives me Healing Wish for stuff like Migina and Ho-Oh. Very, very reliable defogger, and you see right now I'm like patching up Ho-Oh's weaknesses. I'm patching up the water electric weaknesses. Lati also partnering really nice with Ferrothorn, being able to obviously take anything that Ferrothorn doesn't want to take, and also pairs perfectly with Migina. Migina covering, or almost perfectly. Migina doesn't cover the ghost weakness, but it covers the bug, dark, ice, fairy, and dragon weaknesses that Latias has. And Lati in itself is not necessarily as like offensively threatening as Latios, but it gives my team Wish support, which is pretty clean. I'm a big advocate for Wish Lati. I think it's something that's often overlooked, and Healing Wish is obviously a move that stuff like Lando, stuff like Mage, I really do appreciate. And Lati also is able to give me a solid check to many of the offensive dragons that were drafted from the Ubers tier, stuff like Dialga, Palkia, those kind of strong offensive dragons, Giratina O, all obviously outsped and threatened by Latias here. So very, very solid one for the team. Can also offer defog, so Lando isn't locked into that role. Actually, Ho-Oh gets defog too, so that's pretty clean. But yeah, we're spending big here because I want to assemble a team that kind of supports each other very nicely. And I do have my Mega in mind at this stage in the draft. So the next mon I picked up is actually my Mega, and that is Mega Slowbro. Mega Slowbro is a really, really fun mon, and it's actually a mon that I haven't used since Gen 6. I drafted, like when I started draft, I was using like Mega Bro plus Clef, and I think that core just went undefeated because it's so, like, if you know how to play Mega Bro with proper cleric support and like a good fairy, it's going to be very hard to take down. And the thing is, with the BBL, we're not required to Mega turn 1, so I definitely can abuse regen regular Slowbro and use Shell Armor when I need to. Actually, Mega Bro is one of the staples in the stable kind of physical walls in Ubers. Funnily enough, it's a mon that is able to check a lot of nasty offensive threats in the tier, stuff like offensive Ultra Necrozma, Zygarde, Mega Lucario, stuff like that. It's a really powerful defensive wall, and it's not slacking on offenses either. It's got base 130, so the same as Latios, same as Migina, which is pretty wild when you think about it, and obviously base 180 defense. Also gives my team another nice Trick Room setter. Obviously Migina appreciates that. Trick Room offensive bro is definitely an option. And yeah, I'm really just pumped to use this defensive core of Slowbro, Pharaoh, and Ho-Oh, as well as stuff like Lando and Mage, just all pairing really nicely together. Definitely looking forward to using Slowbro. It's one of the things I'm pumped for most of the team. But the next one I wanted to pick up was Marini. I was running kind of low on points at this stage. I kind of knew what I wanted. I knew how I wanted to round the rest of my team out, but at this stage I wanted to take some cheap mons that I thought would go sooner rather than later. I've used Marini. I think I don't know if I was, like, I don't want to say I was the first one to use it because I could be wrong. Someone may have used it before me, but I know that I did draft Marini in a few leagues last year, and since then it kind of picked up in sort of usage. I don't know whether that was purely coincidence or not, but Marini is definitely a mon that is worth it for 1 point. I think it's obviously not as good as Toxapex, but it does give my team T-Spikes. It gives me another regen user, and it gives me a viable fairy check. A lot of teams will now have to take into consideration not only my steel types, but also my poison water types when it comes to like an offensive fairy, which and if they don't, Marini will just check it. We'll just wall those particular fairies. So definitely a bit of a value pick for 1 point. I don't think you can really go wrong there, and a mon that I'm excited to use again. So the next mon we picked was Claydol for 3 points. I know Claydol gets a lot of shit. It's a bit of a meme mon, but honestly I think it can work in my hands on this team. Not only is it another ground type for Landorus, so Landorus isn't always locked into that role as being like a defensive ground. It provides my team with spin support for Ho-Oh, and spin is something I never draft. Like, I never draft rapid spin. I've never used it actually in a league game in my life. Maybe I used it on Donphan when I used to draft that piece of shit like in Gen 6 or something, but it's not typically a strat that I go with. Though on a team like this, when I do have Hazard Stack and I do have Ho-Oh and one that appreciates the field being clean of rocks, Claydol is definitely a viable mon on the team. And honestly, this thing's pretty versatile. I've been running some calcs on this, and defensively and offensively, it has the stats and the kind of move distribution to be able to work pretty effectively. Obviously, it doesn't have reliable recovery, but I do have Wish support, Leech support from Pharaoh, and Healing Wish obviously as well on Laddie. Not that I'd ever really Healing Wish big Claydol here, but it's definitely a mon that I think can work in the right circumstance, and obviously pairs really nicely with stuff like Marini with my Pharaoh. So yeah, definitely a nice budget pick for 3 points. I think it's definitely worth more than 3 points in my opinion. But the next mon and the last mon on the team I got is Regigigas, and the reason I got Reggie is because I had like a point left, and big Reggie, honestly, like, this thing's alright. Like, I was looking at its stats, and in terms of checking certain Ubers, it does a pretty good job. Not to mention my Z-move users for the team are Megina, Marini, Claydol, and my Reggie. So all these last 3 picks, these cheap kind of low point picks, all have Z options as well, which actually up their viability considerably. Reggie with Z moves is whilst obviously like Megina is more than likely the Z candidate for a team. Regigigas with Z move actually is able to bypass a lot of the effects of slow start. I have been doing some calcing. I've been pleasantly surprised with how Reggie gets around its obviously its lackluster ability. So a pretty interesting team, and a team that I'm very excited to use. I'm looking forward to it, and also kind of Reggie does match up pretty well versus some Ubers, so that's also why I picked it. But yeah, that's going to be it. This is my draft for the BBL. I'm definitely looking forward to start playing in this league. I think I play my first game versus Sparks on Sunday, so that should be a good one. That'll be uploaded sometime after this draft analysis goes up. But yeah, I'm definitely pumped for this league. It's going to be fun to play Wi-Fi again, and hopefully I can bring you guys some hot matches. Megina going crazy, obviously Ho-Oh just being a monster, and Omega Bro, doing its thing. So that's going to be it from me. Hope you guys enjoyed. Drop a like if you did, and let me know what you guys think of the team below, how you reckon the team's going to do, and tell me what you think about Ubers. Like, tell me what you guys think about the whole kind of concept of bringing Ubers into the draft format. I personally like it. I don't think it's necessarily like the move for like leagues that want to be like incredibly competitive. I think you're better off leaving those kind of leagues for the kind of standard draft pool. But I definitely think it's a conversation worth having, and I think it's fun. I think it's fun for the format, and something I recommend you guys try for sure if you're wanting a bit of a change of pace from the regular kind of draft format. So that's going to be it for me. Drop a like if you enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys next time.